Okay. So now, yesterday we concluded in the Psicha the Lavin. I'm listed 17 Lavin that are commonly transgressed at the same time that you speak Lashon. One of them is Lashon Hara, say Lashon Hara plus 16, that are not always, but commonly. It's only someone who speaks, who's a Baal Lashon Hara, who speaks regularly. He certainly will transgress all of these Lavin along the way. And now he starts with the Esed. So I had to ask him, Bezras Hashem Yisparach, the very common mitzvahs I say, I'm going to now list off how many mitzvahs I say a person transgresses when he speaks Lashon Hara, and Rechilas says that we're going to do. Zeh Ezras Suri V'Goyali, with the help of Hashem. This is mamash has nothing to do with Shmiras haLashon, but because I can't, the Chofetz Chaim seems to do that whenever he's writing, he's starting, he says, and I'm doing it with the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I had to take a blood test yesterday, and the nurse, she stuck the needle in. Now, it was I take plenty of blood tests, I'm a pro at that, to give blood test. It was the how do you say it in English? The least painful. I mamish did not feel the needle go in at all. It was such a smooth thing. And I said to her, wow, this is mamish. And she said, not me. She pointed up. She said, Lo, ani, who? It was like a reflex, just to attribute that she did it so well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it just reminds me here where he's writing a sefer and he keeps on repeating, I'm doing it Be'ezus Hashem, Be'ezus Tzuri V'Doyali. So, besides the Lavin that we counted off beforehand, and I'll explain them Hashem himself one by one. Number one, right? This is printed at the end of davening. The mitzvah say, remember the pasuk says what Hashem did to Miriam on the road when they left Mitzrayim, etc. Shizharnu HaTorah b'zeh Torah is telling us there. This go prepared that verbally should remember Talmud constantly. The tzaddikas Miriam Hanaviyah. We should verbalize the great punishment that Hashem did to Miriam, the righteous Miriam, the prophetess. That her whole avera, she only spoke about her brother, that she loved him like her own nefesh. And she raised him. And she put herself in danger to save him from the yam. And the whole negative thing the whole bad, the negative that she said was she equated him. She equated him with the other Nevi'im. She didn't even say he was bad. And she didn't say it in front of him. She yovush that he should be embarrassed. Why did they rob him? And she didn't speak it publicly. Just between her and her brother, her holy brother Aaron HaKohen, privately. And Moshe wasn't disturbed. It didn't bother him at all. As the pasuk tells us on the page, that Moshe was very, very humble. And still, all of her good actions didn't help her. And she was punished with saras. This Kalvachoim of the Sharbanayot. It's a Kalvachoim. Two, all the other people, the foolish people, that they very often They speak about their friends. So the first, and the mitzvah say, remember, right? Remember. The mitzvah say. And the second mitzvah that you transgress is the famous mitzvah because you know about someone, you're certainly not fulfilling we were commanded to be concerned about our person's possessions, just as he is concerned about his own possessions. And to be concerned on the cover, the honor of another person, and praise him just like you would do for yourself. So someone who speaks Lashon Hara against another, or he accepts it, even if it's true, so it's clear that he really doesn't love the person. If he's willing to hear Lashon Hara, say Lashon Hara about it, it's clear. The kamoicha bavad enemikai, and certainly he's not fulfilling the kamoicha. But he says, "What's the proof? What's the proof to this?" Everybody knows his own faults. Everybody knows. Still, he certainly doesn't want anyone else to know even one of his 1,000 faults. Lots of faults. You don't want anybody to know about it, even though you know it's true. And even if it happens that someone else finds out some of your faults, and that person goes and says it to others, and still you, who you hope that Hashem should help you. So he comes that they shouldn't accept what the guy's saying. And they shouldn't believe it. And why? Because he doesn't want to be looked at by other people as not a good person. Even though you've done many, many more averas. What they're talking about is just a drop in the bucket. Still, you don't want anybody to know, right? Even though you know that you really done much more. So why? Is also out of the tremendous love that a person loves himself. Everything's pushed off. Came boyfriends and mamish. He says, so the same thing has to be. You have to act the same way to another person. To be concerned about his covet in all situations. And it's not for naught that the Torah wrote the story of Noach Vayesh, that he drank the wine, Vayishkar. He was intoxicated, Vayitkal, and was uncovered, V'goyim Vayarchom, Amso V'goyim V'Shem V'Yefes, Kosu was Ayvas Avim, and then came Shem and Yefes and covered their father. V'gam Sipur Lon HaTeres HaBrocha Shebircham Noach and his Kamel of Seif, and the Torah tells us the bracha that Noach gave Shem and Yefes, that was fulfilled. Harislan, why? To teach us as Gedulas Hamida Azais, the tremendous Midah. Instead of talking about the bad of a person and the faults of a person should be covering for the other person. He should be covering any faults. With all his abilities, just like he would do on his own. You hide your faults very carefully. You don't want anyone to know about it. And if something gets revealed, you do your best that it shouldn't spread. And all of that's included in V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So there's two mitzvahs says that right away that you transgress when you speak Lashon Hara, and this is constant. The first one is the mitzvah that there's a mitzvah to remember what happened to Miriam. In other words, don't speak Lashon Hara. And number two, the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Now let me see if I could find in the Shmiras haLashon the place also. since I don't have Mr. Shara's Shira, we were doing Shar HaTorah. Okay. Perek. Okay. So we did. Test. Test. Yaakov Avinu, we did. Okay. So we're up to here. Shara Torah Perek Yud. We're discussing how a person without Torah is like a fish without water. A person shouldn't make a mistake and say, well, you're making such a big fuss that I took my kid out of yeshiva and I put him into college. What are you making such a big fuss about it? He won't be to be a good Jew. Come on, Sharon like other Jews. What are you making such a big fuss? Says they would say, but no, my brother. From a Chazal taught us in the more brachas, Daf Samach Aleph, and other places, and this has been tested in our times. Bekur Hanisoyin, people have done it, and let's see, a Jew who's taken away from the Torah, he's not learning Torah, he's like a fish out of water. Even though the fish is still alive, you go to a fish store, the fishes are jumping around. But it's clear that the fish is going to die with time. The fish can only live a certain amount of time. As long as there's some moisture on the fish, it could still live. But when that all dries up, take off mace, the fish dies. He says, and we see this, we see this. You look at the statistics, the only segment of Klal Yisrael that's growing and expanding are the ones that are tied to Torah and mitzvahs. And those who don't put such an accent, an emphasis on that, so the next generation starts getting lost, and 2 generations later. So he says, "Kain etze kedushas Hashem atayfefes amoy Yisrael." The kedusha that's on Klal Yisrael. Shal yoda yiskel los lova elias kayom emunetzach. That through that kedusha, they will merit to live for eternity. Kumasha kosav, as it says in the pasuk, "V'atem adveikim Hashem alekechem." Kayim kulchem hayom kumashomu Chazal al pasuk hazeh. As Chazal said about this pasuk, how am I dovek Hashem alekechem? And so it's only through Torah. People separate themselves from Torah. So as long as they're still, a little wet from the Torah, they do a little bit mitzvahs, that they had accustomed to until now. But with time, that moisture of Torah starts drying up. You see, they start stopping mitzvahs. And who knows where that will end. Says what we're saying here is an explicit pasuk in Pashto Koisai, where it says there, if you won't listen to me, and in parentheses, Rashi explains it, that it means Liyas Hamelim B'Torah. You're not Omo B'Torah. So the next thing is you won't do the mitzvahs. Says Rashi, if you don't learn, the next step is you won't do. If you'll come now to be sort of disgusted with my mitzvahs, it bothers you, and you look down, you speak against people who do mitzvahs. That refers to Soine Chachamim. The next step is that you hate the Chachamim. The Voti Asos. The next step is that you stop others from doing mitzvahs. It's called mitzvosai. What does that refer to? Koifer shloit tzivisim. You're koifer. Hashem didn't command them. Kachnem is kol mitzvahs. Averes kol hamitzvahs. The hafrechem is bisi. You're koifer beikar. You deny Hashem. Ha'isheva averes. And so there's 7 steps here. 7 averes. Harishon geres. Hashniya 1 brings to the second one. And the first step is that you're not omo in Torah. And that brings you that you don't learn Torah and you don't do. Until you reach the 7th step, Rahman al-Islam, where you deny a Kodesh Baruch. Calls that Pirashashi Sham Bahume Teres Kanim, everything that we just said in this paragraph is written in Rashi and Pashto Koisai, and it's all based on the Teres Kanim. That Pirashi Mashano Aim and Bechol Yom Bepasha Beis, the Kriyat Shema, says Chafetz Chaim, and that's what I explained. And what we say in the second part of Kriyat Shema, V'hoyi im Shomoya, if you'll listen, etc. La'ava, to love, etc. Yishamru lachem, then it goes on and says, watch yourself. You'll come to serve Avodah Zarah. The L'chura haloi haderachu, says Chafetz Chaim, what's pshat here? The normal thing is, you're teaching your son to go in the right way. So you taught them as he is. If he's going in a good way, so you tell him, strengthen yourself in what you're doing. And don't stop what you're doing. If he's a wild guy, he's just doing what his heart wants. He wants to travel away. So he commands, and the father at least says, at least stay a Jew. But if you do the opposite, and you have a kid, he's a good kid. If you would tell him, make sure you don't stop being a good Jew. Right? Don't convert. That's for sure. You look at the father, he's a fool. I mean, this is a boy who's sitting and learning. You're not talking, to the guy. But he says, but if you look at the psukim, the pasuk start here saying, where he say, to love Hashem. So you're talking about someone who's fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs, right? We say, right? We're talking about Jews that are fulfilling the mitzvahs. Well, Mashiach was asked, so then, how is that suddenly the Torah is talking about that perhaps you'll be seduced and you go serve Avodah Zarah? How do you take that step? You're not speaking to the same person. Says the Chafetz Chaim. He explains the Chafetz Chaim. The truth is, just as it's written, the beginning it says you serve Hashem with your whole heart, from Chazal. What avoid does Hashem do I do with my heart? You put on tefillins with your hands, right? Sit in a sukkah. How you always said tefillah. So Chazal tells us that's tefillah, because the main, of course, you have to say the words and you have to verbalize them, but the essence, neshama of the tefillah is in the heart. And that's why the pasuk is. So if I'm doing a mitzvah of the heart, the Torah says, be careful. Perhaps your heart will tell you. And that the Yitzhahara will convince you. I love Hashem. I'm davening. Why do I have to learn Torah? I daven every day. So we're talking about someone who's learned davening, and the Yitzhahara is going to come and tell him, so it's okay, you're a good Jew. You don't have to learn. Even if I stop learning, I'm a good Jew. My son goes to the shul every morning, So okay, I'm going to take him out of the yeshiva. I'll put him into a college. I'll teach him a profession. What's wrong? Was that about custom? So that's why the pasuk is saying you should know, that you should know shesayf every year that the end will be Aidei Hasor Torah by stopping learning Torah. By the time will come at the end to serve Avodah Zarah. And this is, it's a proven thing. Wherever Klal stop learning Torah, ultimately started the assimilation. That if you stop learning Torah, you're like a fish out of the waters. With a short time, you're taking away his source of life. Kenu ish Israeli, so too is a Jew hasarmin Torah legamri, who stops learning Torah umatas atzam derech hamus l'derech acher and goes to do other things. L'rochiku, it's not so a big step. To be ending up assimilating. Uvarach Hashem shkein nimtza b'sifri al zeh apasuk pen yifta levach musatam avadetem kim l'shadam perish min haTorah. Yad nivdak l'avodah zarah that the Sifri actually says that if you leave, you're learning Torah, and it's a short road to leave Yiddishkeit. Okay, we'll stop here.